Hi, it's Ray from ProShaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. We're back on the Healey again. I said that about 12 times already. You know, the last video we did the video on Jason, the first contest winner, and he showed up for the last month's class and stayed for 10 days. Let's just take a look and see what Jason did. All right, so here's Jason's results. First time he ever English wheeled, first time he ever shaped sheet metal. I gave him the instructions, and guess what? He followed the instructions. Very simple. We got all nice angled flanges bent up here. These are all going to be bolted together. This fender needs a little work still, but the other fenders are in really nice shape. This will be rolled down around a 1/2-inch tube, and this whole body will basically bolt together. It's going to be really cool, except for this is going to be mechanically locked on the tube. And I was just really happy with the results that Jason got. And the next student will be coming in, I believe, in the March class. And Jason already has a few of the pieces started. We're going to make the front and the back. But I just wanted to spend a minute showing you what kind of results you can expect when you have the right procedures, the right techniques, and you follow instructions and you ask questions. You get amazing results. We still have a few things to do on this, and one of them is this has got to be planished out. But before we can planish it out, there's the original factory wells that are kind of bubbled up on the back side. They were never ground off. We got to grind those off, so I'm going to show you how to properly grind those wells, and then we'll planish it out. But, you know, I want to just make a little comment about our YouTube channel. Mark goes crazy trying to get the right keywords and everything else to make our YouTube channel grow and to get more views and stuff. And it's been a real slow growth. And we look at the competition, they use this stuff. They would smear this all up with this stuff. Anybody can do this. Why would you want to use this crap when you can smooth this up? Learn how to smooth it up. That's what's called fine quality craftsmanship. And then some of the other guys, they fire up this with a 24 grit grinder and they grind the death out of the metal. Then they put the Bondo on top of it. We don't do that here. We're going to smooth it out. Anything that marks the metal is verboten. Don't do it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to grind these wells. All right, these were fixtured pieces, and we assume that they were probably stamped by Jensen Motor Cars and made for Healey. And they probably had some really nice steel fixturing. They put it together, and then they TIG welded it. They TIG welded it from the other side. It doesn't look like they ran the weld on the back side. It might be wrong though, but they pick and filed it, and that's another one that's very controversial. A lot of people pick and file to get smooth, but it's really not the best way of doing it because you end up filing away a lot of your metal. And I've seen jobs where people just file it so that they file it smooth and all you have is aluminum foil left. It looks really good, but there's no strength left. You've lost all your dent resistance. So we can't use a dolly and a slapper or a hammer on this with this because that will distort the whole deal. So we got to grind that weld off. Now we might have to re-weld this again. And in all the torture that happened to this, there's really no cracks at all. I think there's one little tiny one I spotted right there. And that'll be fixed really easy. I think that's the only piece that caused a crack right there, and that was probably from the pulling that all apart. So let me get the grinder and I'll show you how you set the grinder up. 50 grit Norton Blaze, B-L-A-Z-E, the best. Then I take a dedicated cutter that I use just for this, put it right on there, 1/4 inch from the edge of the backing pad. Now this is I believe an 1.5 inch backing pad, and that's it. And now what happens is you get these little edges right here, and I've shown this before in other videos. That does the work right there. Now when you grind aluminum, it clogs up on the disc, put a little wax on it. What kind of wax is that? 20 years ago, I got a big block of wax for free. I'll have that, and that will be in my estate. So if you ever go to my estate auction, I'll have some wax for sale. So now, with the smaller diameter, with those little tips, you can grind that. And the object is to grind just where you need to grind, not over here. If you see you grinding over here, that's a mistake. You'll scratch it a little bit, that's all right. You got to use your finger. You take your finger and you feel with your finger. Grind. And now, if you go across it like this, sometimes you have to go across, but most of the time I go with it. Now, when I'm cutting this way, I'm cutting with the top of the wheel right here, and I want to fade the edge of the weld into the parent metal. And I feel it with my finger. I don't want to dig in. If I go in a high angle, I'm going to dig in. I want to be on a low angle. I grind and I feel. Grind and feel. This is favorable to grinding this edge down, but to get this edge, I got to reverse direction. I got to go over like this. And the object is to get that flush. Now, we don't have to show 10 minutes of grinding or a half an hour of grinding. You've got the concept. Let me finish this up, and then we'll come back. It'll be all ground. When the workmen at Jensen welded this joint up, they filed it on the other side. They didn't grind the weld at all, but apparently they were low right there, and you can see pick hammer marks. And that's why you don't want to use pick hammer marks, because it scars the metal. And the metal is really thin right there, and you can feel it. They might have had it filled a little bit, I don't know. But I just wanted to show you, that's the forensics. All right, we got it all ground down now. It's pretty flush, and I'm going to address this here. This has got all these little wrinkles in here, see? And the metal's a little bit stiff right there because it's all confused. So I'm going to throw a little heat into it. I've got this dolly here that has that nice curve to it, and it fits in there pretty nice. And we'll just see if we can smooth that out. The little heat will make it move a lot easier. Just like clay, you got to warm clay up. Sometimes you got to warm aluminum up. How warm? 300-400 degrees is more than enough. A little bit. So we got to squash that all down, and this thing is megaphoning at me really bad, so I got to put some hearing protection on. You saw how that's starting to smooth right out. So we got to get all these wrinkles out, and then we're going to smooth it. And then we're going to check it with the gauges, and we might have to move stuff around a little bit, but you can't do anything until we get this all smoothed out. All right, so what happens if every time we're hitting this, we're doing a little compression stretching. What if we stretch this? Is that a problem? No, because why? This metal is clay. We just shrink it right back again. We can do that 100 times, it doesn't matter. But we'll do it as little as possible. We have total control over the process once you know the rule structure. The rule structure, metal is clay. Now normally I would use a slapper, but this is where the hammer really comes in handy. Concentrated spot. A lot of little blows, let them add up. So we'll go over here a little bit and get some of that wrinkling. We use a different dolly for that. I'm going to switch to this. I call that the bar of soap. I've got about 3 or 4 of those. I'm going to try to get that weld there. Use that bar of soap dolly in there. We'll crush that weld down. There's a little mismatch in the weld too. One side is a little higher than the other. Back over to here. You can only get it so far hitting in this side. We'll tip it over and then hit it from the other side as well. You try to be careful with your body hammer too. You want to make sure that you relieve your body hammer's edges. They oftentimes come with really sharp edges. All those do is make eyebrow marks. You got to be very careful with those. So you use that foam pad that I sell, and you use it with the little 6-inch Harbor Freight grinder, and you can clean these up really nice. A lot of people say, do you have a website? ProShaper.com. All right, we'll flip her over and we'll hit it from the other side now. All right, you see these little dimples? We're gonna get those out. We're gonna iron that all out. Well, maybe we'll try the hammer again. Put a little heat on it. We'll hit it the other way. Now, typically what happens when you're using the body hammer, you put a little more force than the dolly. And you've got a convex shape here, and you pound it in and make it into a concave. You're just rearranging it. Not a big problem. That's why you got to work both sides sometimes. That's a misalignment there from the weld from day one, right there. We'll fix it. We're taking our time. They were all on the clock and they had to get this done in 12 minutes. As I mentioned before, we're going to put a gauge over here, plus you can feel it with your hand. If that puffs up, that means it's stretched. That means we just heated it up a little bit, put the lead shot bag in behind, bring it right down, no problem. Total control over the situation. So one by one, we want to bring these little lows up. We can do that by aiming. We'll use that little corner right there. And bring those little lows up. Might get better result with the slapper. Let's try. Everything except for that little dimple right there. It's being a hard to get dimple. I hate hard to get dimples. It's submitted to my will. So I'm using that little sharp corner radius of that dolly. I got the light working for me. And I'm raising that up, smoothing that big wrinkle dinkle out. Now, the worst spot, we can always go to the worst spot. This is the worst spot over here now. So I might have to go to a different hammer. I got this nice little hammer here. It's got a round face to it. Should be able to get that in there. Smooth that out. Let's throw a little heat in it again. Makes it more malleable. But this is all restoration work. If you're doing original panel work, you wouldn't have these problems at all. It's a totally different game, but it's very similar when you do restoration work. Restoration work is fixing all the problems that happened in the life of the car. Making new panels, you try to make as few problems as possible. And panels go faster that way. using that side right there. So that's quite an improvement already here. I think, let's see, I did get a little bulge over here. Why don't I dress that? Show you how to get that bulge out. All right, so I had to do a lot of compression stretching right in there in order to iron that all out. It still needs a tiny bit. So when I rub my hands on it, there's a little prominent spot right here. So I've probably shown this before, but the situation is, say this is the metal like this. We're going to throw a little heat into it, and the metal is going to expand up like this, but now it's more malleable. But then we're going to hit it down, and it's going to push into itself like that, and it goes down. Now, if you hit it too much, what you do is you go like this, and you've now made it into a concave that's expanded. You want to keep it in the convex arrangement, and you just want to push it in a little bit. With each dose of heat, you can push it in just a little bit. So we're going to do the heat right on the high spot. We use this lead shot bag. We sell the bags in our store, ProShaper.com. Give it a little heat, 300 or 400 degrees. And we'll take this and a light little tap. Not wailing, just a little tap. Then you have to cool it to get a good reading. What you do is a horizon view. You look at it like this, so it looks like the horizon. Looks like the moon or whatever. You're looking at the horizon of the moon. If you see an anomaly, there's an anomaly there. Okay, it's a little proud right there when I look at it, so I'm going to give it some more right there, and we'll knock that down. It looks a lot better. We'll continue on here. Alright, so over here we got a little bit of a mess. I'm going to try to see if we can get that little spot fixed up. We got a mess over here too. We'll fix this one. So you got to be super patient. Remember, patient is one of the most important P's. We're using this side now of the dolly. You see these little footprints, that's where we're having contact with the dolly. Little strokes with the slapper. This is where the slapper starts on a bigger surface. So the lesson is universal here. It doesn't matter what kind of car you're working on. It's all the same stuff. You got to smooth stuff out. And aluminum, steel, same deal. Aluminum, it's got a little peculiarities to it, but so you can say the steel has peculiarities. So there's a little ridge right here. I want to soften that ridge up. So now I do off dolly. So I'll put the dolly over here. I hit over there to knock that ridge out. The proof in the pudding is feeling it with your hand. Just keep feeling it. Plus you see these little marks. Now right here, that's begging for a hit right there. Look at that. You gotta learn how to target it. Little skill set holding your dolly at the right spot. ground this down with a 24 grit like all the other guys do, or a lot of the guys do, we'd have no metal left, and then we'd have to put all the Bondo to give it some substance. We haven't reduced the thickness at all, hardly, maybe a tiny little bit where we have the impacts here, but it's not an issue. What I learned back in the 60s working at my grandfather's, the rule was to make it as good as new or better. Of course, we worked on really nice cars, so that doesn't matter. You should always have high standards. If you pursue high standards, they'll lead you in a good direction. A lot of people say, yeah, but I can't get anybody to pay for doing this quality of work. You're dealing with the wrong customer. It's not your fault, it's the customer's fault. You see some of the prices of some of the nice cars they're bringing at the auction recently. There was a Nomad wagon I just saw go off. It was like $330,000 or something. A resto mod. It was done beautifully. That's just coming out nice. Now you don't have to get this all perfect. You can get it improved, get this improved, and then you come back and you do your perfection. But you keep finding all the little faults, and you keep dressing them up. We're not going to get this totally finished tonight. We might not even finish this totally on camera. I think people are getting bored to death with this Austin-Healey 3000. We want to go on the Talbot Lago, but they wanted to see how to smooth this out, and I'm showing now. Maybe we'll get a lot of this done and a little bit over here, but we won't have time to finish it tonight. Remember, please subscribe, give us your comments, your likes, and hit that little notification bell. We're going to be hitting 45,000 subscribers. We want to get higher. We've got to figure out this algorithm without using Bondo and 24 grit grinding discs. What we're doing here is resetting the arrangement value. The arrangement got all twisted and bent and everything else when it got hit in the accident, and we're all smoothing all that all out now. The area value got a little bit affected, but it's mostly the arrangement value. Now we did make the little mobile English wheel. We could put that in here and smooth that out and probably be a little faster with it. But a lot of guys said, oh, I don't want to see the mobile English wheel. I want to see the handwork. Well, this is the handwork right here. And then some people say, oh, it takes too much time. So you can't make everybody happy. But it is really satisfying to do this work to a high quality standard and not have to put any filler on it other than maybe a heavy primer. And the primers they have today with the epoxy and the high build primers and stuff, you can actually smooth this out. If you've got still surface irregularities, they're only like 10/1000ths of an inch or so. You don't have to grind them smooth. You can block them out with primer. I got a little bit of a nub over there. That's definitely got to be shrunk. You can see it. We'll shrink that one down. Why that happened, I don't know. There's something over there. Total control over the process, though. Heat it up. Get my lid shot bag. Get my trusty snap-on hammer. I love that hammer. Give it a little heat. Down it goes. Little love taps. Sometimes you don't get it in the one shot, so you come back and you do it again. Feel around here. Is anything else high? We got a little low right in here. So that is the process. Like I said, we're not going to go to perfection here. We'll get it really good. We'll get this little zone good. We'll get this little zone good, so forth. And then we'll come back, and then we'll get it perfected. If you saw before how I inked this up, and then I'll run the sanding block on here, find all the highs and lows, move the metal around, and this will get better and better and better and better. But it's probably another couple hours of smoothing just to get this done here. And then we got the smoothing to do on this side and the smoothing over here. This has to be moved over a little bit. It's got to be moved up a little bit. That'll be caulked in. So I hope you learned a bunch right there on how to smooth out. You saw how bad that was. If you haven't seen how bad that was, go back to episode 1. And you can see how this thing was crumpled up so bad. It was like this lip was almost touching this lip. This was out here 90 degrees like this. So take a look at that first video. So there's the process. Total control, shrink at will, stretch at will, totally surface control the whole way through. Do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit until you get it all smoothed out. We still got a bunch to do here. But thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. It's Ray from ProShaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts.